Good morning. Welcome in to Four Wide with Coffee. We've actually got four here this morning. Gary joining us. What's going on, Gary?
Not much. Thank you. Thank you for welcoming me. I heard, Danny, that you were really not wanting to change graphics here, so I decided to do a brother a favor and try this out and see how it all goes.
Oh, welcome to the madness, Gary.
Yeah, welcome, Gary. I appreciate that. We've you're about 2 weeks late for me fixing that, but hey, no worries. We still appreciate the effort. No, glad to have you here, man, and especially in your new abode there as you get sorted.
Yep, moved to sunny, warm South Carolina, so looking forward to hot and steamy summers.
Nice.
Yep. You will get what you asked for here shortly. That's for sure. Coco, Ed, y'all doing okay?
Doing good.
Rolling, no complaints. Ready to get the show cooking here?
Well, let's just jump right on in then. I guess, hey, man, we'll start off with race results if we want to pull that page up, Coco. And just
race
kind of
results.
talk about where we're at right now.
So we sat there in let me pull this up, guys, in Las Vegas this week, and we had our winner in our Cup Series, Travis Rogers, took the win on Las Vegas. That brings our standings right now with our top three: Travis Rogers, Greg Ratliff, and Tim Kennedy in the top three right now for our standings in our Cup Series.
Nice.
And then on our Xfinity Series, we have our last race. Tim Kennedy took home the checkered flags. Congratulations, Tim.
Good job,
Ran a real stellar race on that. We're just going to cover the briefs on this, but with that, it keeps Tim Kennedy in the lead with Travis Rogers in second, and Robert Ernst Spiker Jr. sitting in third place right now for the standings. So lots going on there. Good racing going on all week, guys. The Xfinity race and the Cup race were real fun. That takes us over to our GT3 series. No surprise here. We love them. We hate them.
Shocker.
Ken Huber took on to the win. He's been sweeping the series, but I'll tell you what, he can drive his ass off. So.
And it's not just our series. Ken, I know Ken drives with a few other ones, and man, he's just cleaning house everywhere.
Yeah.
And here's the thing: he's no tool on oval either. So he's just really pissing everybody off. We love you, kid.
We love you,
Ken. Slow the fuck down.
But a late comer to the series, I think I'm correct in saying, was Tim Kennedy. Tim is doing our GT3 series and came in second. So he's really coming up the charts. Ken Huber's in first, Tim Kennedy's in second, and Greg Ratliff's in third in our GT3 series under the standings right now.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Real nice to see all those guys up there. So we'll have something for Ken soon, I think. Let's see.
Ken and Tim are two of those annoying people that seem to be fast in anything they drive. It's so annoying.
It is.
They do their homework, right?
Anything they touch. Yeah, Ray Smith's another one, if you remember. Didn't Ray come into the GT3 series mid last year or something? Yeah.
Yep. So, and then on our 87 series, which, we all love, right? Chris Gales takes home the checkers on our Las Vegas run, which, Chris, I guess, threw away the NIS, let me run it till every drip of gas is gone and run out of gas, to KCE Racing, comes home with the checkered flag in Las Vegas. And then that's putting on our standings right now Chris Scales, Todd Bosworth, and Michael Walker the second for our top three in our standings of our 87 series.
Oh, nice to see Mr. Bosworth up there in the points. It's really nice.
Absolutely. He's been running well.
Yep. So that kind of sums up our standings and our recap of the week.
Awesome. With that, I guess we'll just go on and kick it off with league news, which I know everybody has some questions, but Coco's got some pretty good updates to put out. Where you want to start, Coco?
Hot restart zones. Let's go right at it, right?
Hit it.
So
Let's hear it.
Restart zones, we really wanted. We all did. I think everybody in this room wanted it. We tried it. It was a fiasco because of some
Clusterfuck.
yeah, some iRacing glitching, we'll call it, and people were getting black flags and what have you. So we made the decision not to go with it. Then a week later, right, Danny? Maybe 2 weeks, a week later, 13 comes out, right?
Yeah.
Here comes the patches, and they say they fixed everything. So I want them. I'm just hesitant. What I think, I'm looking at right now, and this is breaking. We need a breaking news, Danny. We need one of the breaking news flashes.
I'll have to get one.
But there you go.
There it is.
See, there it is. Breaking news.
Thanks,
So,
Ed.
The
No
breaking
problem. Get
news
back
is, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to pick on Danny. Danny came to me and said, "Let's test them. Let's test them." And I want to.
Offline. Okay.
Offline.
Yeah.
Offline. And I says, I said, "No, we're not testing. We're not doing anything. Let it go." But
And he
as I
said it
thought
just
about
like that for the record. Very curt. Very no.
Yep, that's
Shut up in
classic-
color. Classic
exactly.
Coco.
Classic Coco. Fuck off. Shut up.
And then he thinks about it for a minute.
Oh, Gary, you hit the nail on the head.
Coco changes everything.
There it is. There it is.
So then I thought about it and I said, you know what? There's no harm in testing it. And if it's working right, then maybe what we could do is maybe we can introduce it in our Xfinity series first, because that's only a 18-week series, meaning we could maybe kick it off on the second series side, not mid-season. Right, not screw up everybody mid-season. So there's going to be some discussions, Danny, that come up between the guys and yourself, and say the admin side, and say, do we want to test it? And then we can introduce it into that beginning of season B or season 2, what we call season B. Okay, because we split the 87s into 18 weeks. We split the Xfinity into 18 weeks. The only 36-week one we have is, of course, Cup. So I'm thinking maybe that's a good way to kind of segue into bringing it on board, right? We have season 1 to test it, or season A to test it in the Xfinity, and then season B we can actually use it. Because I want it. I mean, I'd love to hear what your guys.
I want it to
I
work.
want it.
That's what I want. So here's the thing, and that's why I brought up testing. So it works fine in AI, which is puzzling. I think for the most part, the 1 week that we did run it, I don't think that there was any issues with Xfinity, but the issues showed up with Cup. So,
Right.
we definitely need to, test it offline under a, because what I was thinking, get 4 of us out there in a minimum, and we can do different restarts and starts to see, and test it. Hey, where's the limit? What's going on? Is it obvious? What did they actually do?
Right.
Because I want it to. I want the restart zones.
Yeah.
Ed.
No, I was just gonna agree that it'd be nice to have those restart zones working properly for sure.
Yeah. I don't want somebody saying, even though Coco changes everything, I don't want somebody saying Coco changed the championship by doing this.
I got it.
Obviously, if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work right.
Yep.
And because we never want to interrupt that. But so we have some discussions to have in the background. We have some testing to do in the background, Danny. To your point, I just think that we have to prove that it works. And in all honesty, those testing sessions of 4 of us in there, admin or what have you, I think that we tell people, hey, we're testing this tonight. Do you want to come out and hang out with us? You know what I mean?
We assumed iRacing had their shit together when they implemented it the first time and said,
Yeah.
"Here you go, everybody." I mean, what's going on, iRacing testers? I mean, do you need help? I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah. No
throw some bling over here. I know a lot of people that would do some testing for you.
Exactly. So I do believe that's it. Gary, you're awfully quiet on the restart zones.
Well, the interesting thing is I think iRacing probably recently broke it because remember last year we tried it and it worked pretty good, except we had it not on for every series, so it kind of confused some drivers. But we didn't get any black flags last year. It was only this year, so I think they must have broke it recently.
Gary, I forgot completely about that. That's a great point.
That's a very good point. So yeah, more to come on that. Look for some testing going on in the background here, and go from there. Right.
Awesome. All right. Well, next big event for KCE Racing Endurance Team would be the 12 Hours of Sebring coming up next weekend, isn't it? Yeah, next weekend. Yeah.
Yes. Coming quick.
Yeah, it is.
I think it's in 2 weeks. It's on
2
the
weeks.
25th.
Yeah, you're right.
2
You're
weeks.
right. Let me.
And it's end of the month, last weekend of the month, I believe.
Yep. That's it.
Yep. The big news there, guys, is we're trying to step out of our comfort zone. I heard a lot of chitter chatter about, man, we're always stuck with these GT3s because they're a solid platform and everything. And the deal is with what we have now, prototype. Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah. So we're trying to field a second team right now with LMP2. We're going to see how it goes. See if we can still keep that chitter chatter between the two teams, the camaraderie between the two teams, and things like that. But opening it up a little bit to see who's interested. And Gary, correct me if I'm wrong. We had many of sidebar conversations on this. This was in the works for weeks before we made the announcement. I'm very surprised the guys are happy with, like, I'll stay with the GT3. That's fine. But the LMP's coming out now. We're not an Ed class. The Inglorious Bastards. Is that how you say it, Ed?
Yeah, that's our team.
We're not those. We're not that we don't have that competition in our blood. The time necessary to create something like that with Ed. But what we do have here is some guys that want to try different cars. So we're going to open it up a little bit and just say,
cool.
Let's give it a shot. Something sounds cool. Let's roll with it. But I still want to keep it as, I don't want it to get that segmentation between we're the LMP team, we're the cool team, right? And you're the assholes.
Yeah, you don't want to see that segregation of like an A team and a B team.
Right.
That can certainly start to cause rifts within a multi-driver team, for sure.
So we're basically saying if there was an abundance of people who wanted to do the LMP with us, then we would take the ones who have done most events with us first. Not the guy that comes in a week and just got in the league and says, "Oh, I'll go LMP."
And honestly, I don't think drivers should have an opinion like that. I guess it's kind of a harsh thing to say. You're not allowed to think like this, mister. But,
right.
LMP. Prototype, the P217, any of those cars, I don't think should be like that car's better than the GT3 because it's faster and everything else. No, it's a completely different ball game. It's a different series. It's not this is better than this. No, they're just different. They're both fantastic.
Yeah.
Completely agree. It's just a different class of car, and that's it. Nothing's better than any other. Yeah,
exactly. It's just a different flavor. Both ice cream, one vanilla, one chocolate.
The really cool thing is last year when we did our endurance races, we would have maybe one or two cars, but we've been getting about 10 to 12 drivers stepping up for the endurance races now, and that is really awesome. So I think it really opens us up to the possibility of doing this. And the cool thing is that we've got 4 drivers that wanted the LMP2. We got 3 drivers that want the GT3. And then the other, 3 out of the 4 drivers on the LMP2 said, I'll do GT3 if you need me. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
Now, here's a caveat, though, with running an LMP2 class. We over in Inglorious Bastards, we prefer to run that car, and there's a good reason for it, because you're pretty much, it's not a guarantee, but your chances of being into a higher split and a mixed split is much higher if you're running the LMP2, especially with the races that have, more than just 2 classes. So you've got at least 3 classes. Typically, the teams that choose the LMP2, even if you're not rated very high, you're still more than likely going to get into a fully mixed split.
Good point.
Yep. Yeah, so I think the guys are excited. I'm excited, and hopefully this grows us into more people wanting to do some of the GT3s that had that reservation of I don't want to run the Ferrari. I would like to run this. you know, and it's not, like I said, I kind of agree with you, Ed, and you can't tell people how to think, but you're hoping that the people that join our events are those people that think the way that we would like them to think, in the fact that it's just a different car. It's not a different class.
So is there the possibility of an LMP2 class coming into the league night races?
Absolutely. I mean, the GT3, because once what I'm seeing, and this is just me speaking about future, okay, which is ding, 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 right? The future of GT3. We always said we wanted it to be a true multi-class, the GT3 nights, like a true one. But you need big numbers, you know that, and we can't do one guy running an LMP and the other guy's running GT3.
Especially if it's Ken.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, right.
A 30-70 split, I think, would be good. 70%
Right.
GT3, 30 LMP2.
Right. But
Let's
the
put
thing
Ken
is,
in the Mazda, come to think of it. You want to do
Yeah.
multi-class. Let's put Ken in the Mazda, and the rest of us will stay in GT3 and LMPs. Yeah, I like
There you
that.
go.
Yeah.
I like that. But what I thought was, yeah, I mean, we picked GT3s because they kind of are a little, I don't want to say easier to drive, but now with what we're seeing in our GT3, and this is just my opinion, what we're seeing in the GT3s is we have our regulars now. We have almost a full field of 14 that are regulars, right? And so putting them in an LMP2 car, I don't think will change the accident levels and things like that. It's not, these guys have driven together for how long? They know each other's kind of, who they're racing against and stuff like that. So when we started, we tried to pick, GT3, kind of the middle road, right? It wasn't the Mazda and it wasn't the LMP or prototype. So I think we can have a GT3 or an LMP class or a mixed class or whatever. Now I think with our base core group that we have in all of our series, you pretty much throw anything at them and they'll be okay. They're not they're not the new guys out there wrecking into each other. They're just not.
Right.
Well, and the cool thing that we could do is, it's almost like a promotion type of thing. The guys that have been on for a year, who've shown that they can run clean. Well, the next year they can run LMP2,
Right.
And then the rookies, they come in at GT3. They got to prove themselves, and then they have the opportunity to jump up a class.
Look at Gary.
You got to earn that seat in the LMP2.
Right.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Good stuff.
Yep.
And quite
Brainstorming
honestly,
here.
For all you drivers out there who have not put seat time in the Dallara P217, that's really what we're talking about here. You should. Things happen faster, yes, but it's an absolute dream car to race. It's under you 98%. I mean, you really got to have the setup screwed up to have the car be skittish or to be worried about it. It's planted, it's fast, it's just a good effing time in that car.
Yeah, that's
Absolutely.
a great point. Okay, so let's move on. Continue with league news. Coco, you want to kind of tell us about how the penalty system's going?
The penalty system. Yeah, we changed the penalty system a little bit with the entry of a incident form for the drivers. We've had submission of incidents, so it's going. One of the things that came up, and I'm just going to touch on this, Danny. One of the things that came up was one of the drivers in the teams basically said, it's great, they like it, but they'll never submit one because they're afraid of, if they submitted one, then the driver they submitted it against would be carry some animosity towards them, maybe not, maybe cause some drama. And the one thing we're here at KCE, we don't want any drama, right? We keep away from that. And we don't have much, maybe in the background, but not up front, right? And the thing is, so we thought about that. We said, okay, well, instead of admitting or submitting the driver who did it and the driver who was against, we're going to put the driver who it was against, but everything's going to be under race review because the admins still do review the submission. It's still reviewed by an admin before it's handed down. So it is under race review. It's not, we're not hiding it. But now also what we've done, and I think this was people really didn't understand how this was working. I put a Discord message out there, but the race review committee, myself, will review the race. The race is reviewed in a way of not ticky tacking people, not looking for the guy doored him a little bit and they raced through the corner. Yeah, he might have, but you got 0x on it. Nobody stopped, nobody spun, nobody had a problem. Okay, it's just hard racing. Shit happens. We stopped looking at that stuff. We stopped playing games and ticky tacking people. But now it's kind of look at, the cautions. Did a guy blast through an accident with full throttle and take out 4 more cars where he didn't have to? You know what I mean? That
Right.
kind of thing. The egregious kind of, why would you do that to somebody? Why would you, maybe Ed hit Danny and Danny spins sideways.
Fuck it, Danny.
Yeah, and then Danny's sideways on the track, and here comes a guy at 130 mile an hour and just blast through Danny. Well, Danny could have raced, right? Danny could have raced, but this guy didn't.
Okay, that's it.
What's that?
Sorry, I was there. It was a can I question, but with the start of the FedEx team. But anyway, keep going, Coco.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't.
It's hypothetical, Danny. It's hypothetical.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you. Thank you. That's what I was looking for.
So, but that takes Danny out of the race now because some guy didn't abide by our rule, which says get off the gas, hit the brake or calm down a little bit going into an accident. It takes Danny out. So we look at that stuff. We let the guys race. And if they have a problem with something that had happened to them, then they can file a petition. But if not, if we see something that's egregious, we'll put that penalty out there. So there's still penalties being delivered by the administration or the race review, but it's not that like, he blocked me when actually that's his line for the past 27 laps. You know what I mean? Right. It's none of that bullshit anymore. And I think it's working. To the best of, we're seeing a lot of tight racing out there. We're seeing a lot of racing throughout the entire race, from lap 5 to lap 107. We're seeing racing, and some people say, "Oh, well, you should just get in line and don't make me burn up my shit." Okay, well, I'm out there to race. I'm racing you.
That's racing. It's called racing. It's not called pacing.
I will tell you, the competition in the series has just been so close. There's been races where I feel like I'm side by side 50% of the race. It's been awesome.
Yeah, I agree with you, Gary.
Yeah.
I think especially from front to back too. Doesn't matter where you're at in the pack, you can find that type of racing right now.
Yep, and I think so. So for the update, it's basically just remember we still have a race review going on. Race incidents will come from us. The admin section, and or an incident from somebody. And now that we don't publicize that, it releases the driver from fear of retaliation due to a submission.
Yep.
Yeah, I think being anonymous for the submitter is very important.
Yeah, and also the point, I think, and just to hammer it home one more time, the point that penalties can be handed out without any protest being filed by a particular driver. That's the big takeaway here, and and I can attest to that. So it is what it is.
And we also have a system in place, so we can't have a driver out there like protesting like every other little hit. So we got a system in place. So if someone tries to protest too much and they're not really a valid protest, and they're going to lose their ability to protest down the road.
And I really don't think we have many, or if any, of those personalities in the league right now. I could be wrong, but not that I can think of. I think most of the guys are more willing to, get out the old, "Oh, hey, bud, I am so sorry for fucking up your race like that. I'm a dumbass. Are we good?"
Yep.
Yeah.
A simple message like that goes a long, long way. So.
Yep. Yes, it does.
Okay, talk that to death. Coco, last part of the league news. You've got a note in here. I don't know if you want to cover it or if you want to move forward.
I'm just going to say it again, guys, because it's the team radios are going awesome. Discord is calmed down a bit, but yet there's still enough chat in there to keep everybody happy. So the privateers aren't there. I took Danny's advice. I might have been Ed's too. I don't want to take any thunder away from anybody, but we did enable some privateer channels out there. There's 3 of them, Ed, on the TeamSpeak. I'm sure you've seen them.
That'd be Danny's.
Yeah, was that Danny? So I did do that.
I'm down here. You got to point down. I'm down. Yeah. No, you're.
Right over here.
This is like Brady Bunch shit. We don't even need to try it. So it's.
Okay. Here's a story.
There it is.
But I do want to reiterate, guys, be respectful to the admins of the league, the owner of the league, the other drivers in the league. The team channels are recorded. The team channels can, and quite frankly, I'm going to tell you straight up, are reviewed completely. Okay? So if you're going to go ahead and stick your neck out and, disrespect things that are there for you for free and given by a lot of people putting a lot of time in here, remember, these are recorded. I can't stress that enough. Let's let that go at that point. Danny, if you'd like to add
Absolutely.
anything.
Nope. I'm not going to add a thing. We're just going to move straight on to community news and leave it right there. So, big news. Everybody's tracking, of course, this week was the release of Season 2 for 2023. And
No rain.
It was no,
rain.
Of course not. We're not even going to the rain issue, right? So, we are going to talk about a couple things in detail, but let me kind of hit some high points, and we can move through these before we get to the juicy stuff, and that was in the patch notes or maybe was not in the patch notes. So, we did get 3 new cars. I guess technically one's an update, but it is a new car. The late model got a great update. Car sounds phenomenal. Looks really good. A lot of fun to drive. Of course, the late model's always been fun to drive for me. Just don't race it enough because, those guys that typically race those series are like really good. But the late model got a great update. We got, and on that too, if you own the late model, you got the new update for free because they actually took the old late model completely out of the system. So it didn't fall to legacy. It just went away. It's gone. And that's going to affect, keep in mind, any replays or, AI leagues that you have built, anything along those lines. So you need to go back and kind of check on that. We also got for free, the Ray FF 1600, which is, let's call it a Formula V type. And, maybe I can pull some of this up here on the screen in a second. It's honestly, guys, it's pretty damn cool and pretty exciting. Where are we at? There we go. So we can get that on the screen. This little car's got more power though than the Formula V. No wing, open wheel. And it's pretty damn wide, like the Skippy. I noticed when I was out on tracks, I was putting the wheels off and wasn't expecting to, because you kind of feel like you're driving that Formula V, which is a little more narrow. A lot of fun. You can slide it around a bit, and don't want to ever just come completely out of the throttle. But this car on the screen looks like it's going to be a good time. We'll see how the series takes. When we got a free car, I think the series typically do okay when iRacing introduces a new car. But so I don't expect that there'll be any problems with finding individuals to race here. Anybody else tried this?
I didn't try it, but I'm telling you what, these have always intrigued me. Like, I've always wanted to jump in one of these things. Because I just think that there's formula cars and the open thing. Now, formulas are starting to close up, but this looks to me like and I'm probably way off base here, but like old school, like you're in a tub just going 120 mile an hour down the street. That's awesome to me.
Yeah.
You know what I love? You know what I love about these? I can take my 14-year-old son and my 12-year-old daughter and say, hop in the rig, load this car up, and it is one of the best ways to teach a new young driver car control.
Great point. Really, it's great point. And it's because I don't think it slides around quite as much as say the Skippy. So it's got a little bit more grip, but it will move around on the track. But it's great car.
Yeah, I wish they had that when I was trying to up my license in the road course stuff. I really do, because I'd have been having a ball in there.
Yeah, we got stuck with the Mazda.
Yeah, we had the Mazda, and we had somebody sent me, I think it was Joel from previous life, that put me in the Skippy and said, go get the Skippy and just run it.
Every time I see a car like that, I just want to do one thing. I want to put it at the top of Mount Washington, shut the motor off, and let gravity take over and try to survive to the bottom.
Soapbox. Here we go.
Soapbox derby.
That's what it looks like.
Yep.
Yep.
We'll give it a try.
It sounds like this could be a good fun run.
You might be right, especially since it's free. Everybody's got it.
Yep. If you haven't done a Mount Washington soapbox in a car like that, you are not living yet. You will be in tears within the first 10 minutes.
Oh,
that's hilarious.
Well, somebody mentioned the Mazda too, so we did get one more car, which is the Renault Clio. Now, this car's been pretty popular as far as for series. It's in Europe.
Europe.
This is definitely, and this car is much more along the lines of the Mazda. As far as in performance, but this thing will bounce around a bit more, hop around the track, and it's honestly it's a lot of fun to race. It's a lot of fun to drive. Especially, I highly recommend Knock Hill in this car, guys. Okay, you're gonna some of the turns at Knock Hill, if you're familiar with that track. Oh, this is just, it was way too much fun in that Clio. So that's the third car that we got for this season. So that's it. Which I won't. I'll be the first to say I was a little disappointed that the Pontiac '87 Pontiac did not make an appearance.
Well, and we prepped for that shit, Danny. We prepped for that stuff because we knew if it made it, we'd have to do it. So we didn't do any races after the 13th.
And that's
so.
Yep, I know.
We didn't get it for you, buddy.
Yeah, well, it is what it is. So Buick's just fine. Buick's doing just lovely. So we'll keep up with that. Now we did get a new track. I gotta say I was not familiar with this track, but
Jerez?
it's Jerez, I think. Jerez.
Yep.
Hango Nito or something. Anga Nito. I don't know. Spain. Okay, with two setups. One's the let's go over here and take a look. One's kind of the GP, and one is the Moto Circuit is what it is. Apparently this is popular, and this track is pretty fast and free flowing. Okay, pretty damn long too. I will say, as far as its configuration,
almost 3 miles.
Yeah, it really is. So it's going to take a minute to kind of learn it. I know it took several laps. I still wouldn't say I've learned it. I know what's coming up, but you know how it takes a long time and a lot of laps in order to get really comfortable with how to race a track. And because there's so many fast sweeping turns with this one, I think it's going to take a little longer to kind of get comfortable and get up to speed. But it is a good one. Okay, I kind of follow. I would say it's kind of has a flow like a Manicour. That would be a good example. Maybe Red Bull. It kind of has that type of really fast, free-flowing, sweeping turns. A couple of good slow-down turns, but for the most part, it's pretty fast and free-flowing. So, really, F1, I think, is probably why this showed up. But I don't know how well that series is really going for iRacing, honestly. Anytime I take a look at it, it doesn't really look like many people are racing that F1 car.
And I've never even turned a lap in it, honestly.
I own the first one. So a year ago? That
Yeah.
was that long, however long. But what turned me off was you can't paint the car. And so I didn't buy the second one that came out. And I know that sounds kind of piddly, but that honestly is a one big selling point for iRacing that I don't think they credit probably enough with trading paints. That if we were just stuck with standard click and choose or baseline crappy, like you see on the screen, paints, I it would it I just that's what got me to this. That was what made me go to this sim as opposed to ACC at the time when I was looking, or Assetto Corsa.
Especially when it's paid for content. You
Yeah.
own that car. You want your personality, right? That's you. You're representing you out there. So
no customization and individuality of the car. It honestly talks about the driver. And it shows his personality or his or her personality or whatever. I really believe that they underplay those pieces. You don't see much updating towards that. I mean, trading paints has its issues, with like reload and stuff like that. I think they should be really working towards, the trading paints integration a little better, things like that. If you notice, there's a checkbox in your settings, and I'm not going to go off on a tangent, but there's a checkbox in the settings that says clear my directory cache every time I exit iRacing.
Yes.
It doesn't even work. The paints are still there. Usually, a lot of times. I'm not gonna say all the time, but a lot of times, and things like that. But like making these little things work together, I think they need to put a little bit more, like you said, credit towards that paint area.
Yeah, it's
a little more time.
It's important. But anyway, that's the new track. Now, as far as and on the screen right now is also the new late model, and of course it comes out. When it came out, the standard livery on it is, of course, Dale Jr., which I'm sure had a lot to do with getting this car updated for the league. As you can see right there, the Cars Tour that he is now a co-owner in as of the last few months. So get out there and give them a shot, guys. They're a lot of fun, to say the least. Now, I guess the obvious thing for all of us, the first thing that happened was we had the UI update, right? So, which is on the screen right now. A little cleaner. If you're not using dark mode, I don't trust you as a person. But I think every I won't even say every season release, they are constantly working on the UI now, right? In order to make it what certain members want as far as in demands of what they need. So, which I get confused about from time to time. But I think it's clean. I think it looks good. There's new features. I mean, give it a shot. Opinions?
Yeah, if you're one of those drivers that tend to avoid the UI, you just gotta suck it up, bite the bullet, and start using it, because that website's going away.
Yeah, eventually.
Yeah, I'm fairly new to iRacing. I think I've been on for 3 years, which is probably very new compared to you three guys. And I've only known the UI, quite honestly. It was already there when I started. It's where they kind of pushed you initially anyway. And I don't have any issues with the UI. It's very easy to navigate.
Hey, Gary, when I came in, it was still the website, and then the beta released. I don't know, a year or so after, and I immediately tried to go to it, and just was back and forth, and then probably 6 months after its initial release, when it was beta UI, that's all I was using. So we know that's where it's going, and we've said this before. Just get on board, guys, and come on in. The water's fine.
Yeah, the only thing I can say is, being in a league, I know that I've seen some things that are on the website that's not available on the UI. Let's hope they migrate some of that stuff. Like if you were trying to find out what date and time a race was, I could not find that on the UI, but you can find it on the website.
Right. I know there's been some particulars about that. It's a good point. It seems like they continue to add and change and kind of update those as they go. Stats, I think, was another one that had a lot of complaints, which again they've started to really add, and you can find, what you need, I think, in there. So quit hating on it. Just suck it up, guys, and learn how to use it and offer, constructive criticism for what they need to do to fix it. Besides, it sucks. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Enough of that one. We did get a couple things we're going to talk about here right now, and that's the auto fuel feature. Okay.
Give me that gas.
Yep. So a lot of people use third-party software for auto fuel. Now we have it built into Sim. Personally, I was real excited when I saw that, because if I can avoid using a third-party software for something, I'd prefer to use just what's in the Sim, just for simplicity's sake, and also to keep the demand down on the PC. So this feature is you'll see it on the fuel black box, and it's a little checkbox. We need to talk about it. Yeah, as far as drivers having problems. And the problem is it's only going to be active when you're either in a race and you've run enough laps for it to have a little bit of data. That's the two factors. Other than that, it will be grayed out where you can't select it. You can't do anything with it. So at a practice, it's not going to do you any good. Also, another thing to keep in mind, it is not for every single car. You need to check the patch notes for, what is covered. But I can tell you what is not covered right now, and that's the 87s. So it's applicable kind of to the car and its technology, right? Is auto fuel a feature of that type of is it up to date with that car model? Maybe is that what I'm getting at, trying to say? Makes sense.
Yeah. And it works. I mean, I've tested it in some recent road racing, and no issues. With road racing, it automatically gives you a buffer zone because iRacing has figured that they know when the time runs out 0, the leader of the race may be past the start-finish line or hasn't taken the lap yet. So that's another lap everybody's going to have to do, even though that clock hit 0. So iRacing has baked in a buffer zone to give you that extra lap no matter what. I usually go a little bit more. I set mine to like 1.4, just so I know I've got that little bit extra. But yeah, no issues for me. As soon as the race kicked off and it had enough data to do its thing, then the box goes active. And now one thing you'll notice is that if you can't have both boxes, auto fuel and the regular box for get fuel, you can't have both of them checked. It's one or the other. You're either letting the system auto fuel and take full control, or you're doing it manually, but don't expect to be able to do both.
Can you do decimals, or is it full laps on the new feature?
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to change per car, but I noticed after one full lap, I could go 1.2, 1.4. So it's very small increments that you can build a buffer.
Or less. Yeah. So it's selectable right there.
Yeah.
And again, it's very convenient. It's right there in the lap and the fuel black box, which is awesome, because I would use Race Labs for mine, and once I set it, it's that's it, and I'm in the race. You can still change that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Set it and forget it. Now, I did notice too, and this is something that for road racing specifically, if you're not running that third-party software that's telling you, hey, you're in the pit window type deal like Dre does, well, just watch that. And if you got 13 gallons in the car, that's what you're going to put in the car, full tank. I'll key that up when I know I'm getting low on fuel. And as soon as I see that auto fuel go like 12.7, I'm pit lane. I'm hitting pit lane because I know I'm in the window. It just started taking fuel out of my tank. I know then I've got enough to make it. If I want to jump everybody on pit entry, that's a perfect piece of data to use to know you're in that window. Trust it.
It'll be interesting to see how well it works with like leagues that have green-white checkers. and you say you get a late caution that extends the race 2 or 3 laps, it'll be interesting to see if because I had an issue one time where it went green, white, checkered at Talladega, and my crew chief didn't give me enough fuel in a previous pit stop.
Yeah, it's part of it.
It is part of it, and it happens in real life racing too. So
Yep.
Great point. Hey, so there's other things as far as in the notes. I'll hit real quick, and then we're going to talk in depth on some others. So we've hit the high points. The one thing I will say, for those of you who do AI racing, now it's a hot button topic sometimes for people what they feel about the AI and iRacing. It's getting a lot better, but it's also getting very deep. And there was a couple things I was waiting on to enter AI because, well, they're kind of favorites of mine. And one of that, Darlington arrived in AI, which is interesting. And Pocono on the oval side, there was a laundry list of tracks, but I'm just pointing out the 4 that are my favorites. And then Zandvoort and Zolder both came in finally, which is, I never find races in those. Twin Montague was another one that entered. Again, you hardly ever see races in those. So if you do AI, guys, and trust me, the AI can be a lot of fun if you get it set up right, which doesn't take a whole lot of work. A lot of fun. And Darlington is everything you would expect it to be, maybe a little over the top. I think there were 4 cars on the lead lap in a 35-lap race that I tested in AI. It was an absolute nightmare. I think there were 5 cautions in 30 laps. Okay, it looked like official series racing. So give it a shot. Anybody else tried any AI?
Nope, not recently.
I didn't figure as much.
I do testing on the oval side, or I do practice on the oval side for AI to get ready for some league races because I don't want to go to the open servers necessarily. And the big thing that I see is that you always have at least 1 or 2 drivers on the AI side that run out of fuel, and they literally stop on the track.
Yep, that has been a bug. They've gone through a lot of updates to try to correct that. One thing I would tell you is check those drivers and ensure their pit strategy is not set to something really risky. That would be something in particular. So in the attributes for each driver, one of the things in there is pit strategy or riskiness. I forget what it's labeled under, but if it's set that they're willing to take a high risk, they'll run out of fuel. So
Pick 'em.
Interesting. Because what I usually do is I usually go to Trading Paints and I get the whole collection.
Yep.
And the racing's a lot better because you have the aggression level a lot higher than the default cars that come into iRacing.
Yeah. It's
I just load up all AI cars labeled Coco and I just wreck them all. I wreck them all.
Oh, that's funny.
Speaking of wrecking, we need to talk about some brakes that got updated recently.
Absolutely.
So, iRacing in this last update gave us dynamic audio brake system. Okay, so in before, and again, I'm going to reference GT3 here, you got on the brakes and you would always have a brake squeal, but it didn't really change. It was there, so you knew, especially if you're on a cheaper set of pedals, you knew you had brake engagement. You know, the audio is really important as a piece you're using to put the whole package together. It's different now. Now that brake audio is reacting to your pressure and everything else you're doing with that pedal and the actual temperatures. So if you pull out of the pits and you're cold, they are going to be squealing and screaming, and they will fade over the next few laps. And then you'll know, okay, my brakes are good, my tires are good. It also helps you I do this a lot of times, and if we have a long opening lap before we go green, I'll do on throttle brake dragging. So throttle's down, and now I'm adding brake. Enough power to keep the car rolling, but I'm really pissing off the brakes. I'm getting them hot. And doing that now, I notice that I can get the brakes up to almost full temperature before we go green, and I'm confident that I know I've got temperature in them, which has worked out really well. There's a caveat to this, though. some people have noticed it right away that if you have a load cell brake and you go to the options menu, drive selection, the second box down is your brake force factor, right? Normally, if you've got a load cell brake, you want that box checked. Well, since the update, that box was unchecked, and some people found it and was like, "No, if you got a load cell, you need to hit that box." It's actually not the case now. If that box is checked, it doesn't work. You still have the original brake squeal, but it's not dynamic. You have to have that box unchecked. If you do have load cell brakes, just make sure the force factor is set to 0.
Right.
The reason being for that is because those who are not on load cell pedals, this audio change is a really good way to know how much pressure at least you're initially adding, since your pedals don't register pressure. Now you've got a sound that at least tells you, hey, you're applying more mid-brake, right? You may be dragging a little more than you think you are, type deal. So in order for that system to work, leave that box open. If you're on load cell, just make sure the form factor is set to 0, and you will have, it'll do what it's supposed to do.
Now that's interesting. I assume that's a bug. I
think so.
I didn't, but I was not tracking that bug. So I would hope that they would get that corrected in a patch.
I noticed it a couple nights ago when I was doing some road testing. I was like, oh, I remember in the forum seeing that. So I went and checked, and sure enough, the box was open. So I clicked it, since I've got the pedals that I do, and I went right back out, and I immediately noticed, I was like, whoa, it's gone. It's no longer dynamic. It was just the tone's there, but it won't change. It won't change with pressure. It doesn't change with lap. It doesn't change with anything. So as soon as you open up that box, the dynamic that it's just there. Your brakes will be super fucking loud on your out laps, and then about 3 or 4 laps into it, they're barely making any noise, which again is going to be crucial for endurance races at night when it's cold, like Le Mans type deal. So yeah, leave it open.
So what does cold brakes versus warm brakes do for you performance-wise?
So cold brakes, you're more apt to have lockup. And your tires are cold, right? So initially on the first 3 to 4 laps of any road race, a lot of your tire heat is coming from brakes. Think about those rotors getting so fucking hot, right? I mean, that's a major heat system sitting right inside the drum of that wheel. So your braking on the first 2 or 3 laps is huge for getting those tires up to temp, especially the front tires up to temp. That's really the big thing, is your stopping distance and the tire temperature. Cold brakes suck.
Now, does iRacing have anything built in if you overheat the brakes?
Not other than you flying off the track and eating a fucking tire barrier somewhere.
Yeah.
No, you just feel them go away.
It's brake fade. It's brake fade.
It's brake fade.
Oh, so you can experience brake fade in iRacing.
Yes.
Oh yeah, and now with the new audio system, if you're out there and you're braking hard and you're getting no squeal, no noise, no nothing, and you're starting to fade, you're telling yourself you're burning them up.
Yeah.
So if you start backing off a little bit, and now all of a sudden you're starting to come in, you're getting that temperature to come back down, because you're starting to get a little bit of noise back out of the brakes. So it's a tool to use. Just pay attention to it.
It's amazing what they can put into these simulations,
and it's accurate. It's what the real cars would be doing. The way the audio brake would be responding.
Thanks for that update, Ed, on that one, and I'm curious to see what they do with this in the future. Definitely a good point as far as on the load cell box check or uncheck, because I wasn't aware of that. I didn't even pay attention to it. Now I'm gonna have to go back in and check it. Yep. Okay, so let's talk about what was not in the patch notes. So nowhere in the patch notes was it mentioned that the ARCA car, not even, I'm not, let me check right quick. Let me verify that again. Okay. But we'll go down here to cars, and yeah, there's okay. ARCA. Here we go. It wasn't here. Fixed an issue with dirt appearing on the windshield. Okay, great. I don't care. iRacing setups have been updated. That was it. But lo and behold, there was a little bit of a surprise for everybody when the patch, when iRacing came back online. Gary, are you familiar with what I'm talking about?
I am familiar. I haven't tested it myself, but I've heard a lot of people have. But for some reason, the ARCA car has a better sound. It's got more horsepower. Oh, baby! What the hell happened? How can iRacing screw that up so bad? Or did they screw up? Was this something that they intended to do down the road and it got slipped in?
Gotta watch those slips in, man. They can fuck up your future.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just
She'll
saying.
slap the shit out of you.
And what's amazing is like some people like said we love it. No, a lot of people said we love it. We want to keep it, and iRacing said yes. That's amazing.
That's what's amazing to me. Okay, I didn't know any of this was going on. I was behind on this because typically my first hours with the new stuff is playing with all the new content, so I didn't make it over there to ARCA. But when I saw the chatter and everybody going, "It's awesome! This car's incredible! It's loose! It's fast! It sounds awesome! Please don't change this iRacing, please, please, please!" And then lo and behold, they put out a tweet within 24 hours that said, "We've heard the community, we've listened, and we're going to leave it alone. And not only that, here's a new series for you, also starting next week."
Wait, hold up.
With a Class C license, Gen 4 car. Here you go. I agree with Gary. There's no way that happened this quickly. It had to be a whoops, or I don't know.
That's one of my favorite cars, dude. I love the way that car feels.
The problem I have with this whole thing is, honestly, guys, look at it in a business sense. You want to breathe life into something? Come on.
But ARCA's not dead.
It's not. But
ARCA's never been dead.
No, but what do you think? I mean, that could generate additional new drivers. I mean, it really can.
Yeah. I bet you it was probably something that they were testing out, and it's probably season 2, something that they were going to release, because you can't have it that ready that fast.
I agree with Gary.
Yeah. So
Coco thinks it was a sneaky way to put it out there. Could have been. Gary, I tend to agree with you. I think, it might have been a whoops, because we know they've had some whoopses, right? The windshield wipers. That was damn sure a whoops, right? Got everybody excited and talking. Yet there is still no rain, which I didn't figure I needed to even say that. But I will. By the way, there's no rain.
That's some coder in the office. Like, I want 500 horsepower. Watch this 8.
Well, if you haven't driven it yet, guys, go drive the car. It's going to. I think the Gen 4 series will be exciting because now you have got to protect those tires in that car, where maybe you could just. When it was no cautions, Class D license, ARCA series, which will still be there too, but you just burn it up, and who cares? To hell with it. There's no cautions, so just burn it up. You can't do that in this car. I mean, when I was starting, you can spin the tires going into second gear if the RPMs are up a little too high. I mean, quite easily. So. Go check it out. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I was in an ARCA league one time, and even on longer races, you could really push the car, and the tires would not degrade very fast. So it's definitely going to be a different story. Now, did I hear right that on Monday, when the new season starts, then you're going to see 2 different cars in there? You're going to see one that's called a Gen 4, and then you're going to have the original ARCA back.
Yeah, I think it's going to be something similar like the big block as far as the dirt car, or the GT the Ford GT3 / GT2, that type of thing, where it's 2 different tabs for 2 different cars, but it's essentially the same. It's just the one has a hell of a lot of horsepower and one does not.
Well, what are we going to do? Have multi-class in oval?
Right?
Ooh, boy.
Yeah.
Danger, Will Robinson. Danger.
I'm down. I'm down. I'll do it.
Yeah, and what I also saw is that it's going to be a C class. I didn't see if it was open or fixed, or if they're going to do both, but I heard it's going to be the same amount of laps that the trucks are.
I think those ARCA cars, I look at those things like they're 90s cup cars. That's how I feel about them.
Well, that's kind
I
of
love
Gen
'em.
4 was what, 91, 92 to
Yeah, early mid 90s, I believe.
what, something, what, 3,
Hey, guys.
2?
Am I wrong in stating we need more days in the week?
Yeah, no shit.
Mm.
Isn't that the truth, man?
Or maybe less work.
Yeah.
An afternoon race and an evening race.
Oh, wow. Oh. One day, Gary.
One day. Yep.
But that's it for the patch notes, guys. I mean, there's a lot more in there. Graphics were tweaked a little bit. I haven't heard any problems out there. Matter of fact, this may be one of the first times that they have updated the graphics for an improvement potentially for people. Gary says, shh. I got you, Gary. You're right.
I heard just a couple people complain in Reddit, but it wasn't anything that couldn't be fixed with like a computer reset or computer restart, or a config on the graphics and everything.
Let's be honest. Most of the people that do that complaining like that are PC illiterate.
Sometimes, but there have been some problems crop up that it has been systematic inside of iRacing. So, yeah, Gary experienced it.
They have screwed up my VR so many times. It's unbelievable. They finally got it right.
Yeah, it's always a chase.
Yeah, and it can be a challenge. And again, one thing I will typically do as far as on the drop of not necessarily the patches, but definitely on the season patches that they do, I will clean out and reset to go through another reconfigure as far as the graphic settings. I think that's a good thing to do. Just kind of do the reset. Save your old, monitor or VR INI file, so you've got all your settings over there. And it's a quick copy and paste over into the, to set it up. But recommendation.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Danny. It's almost. It's maintenance to me. Every time a big patch comes out like that, I do it, because I have found that even though I haven't made any changes, it seems like the patch does something inside there.
Right.
I don't know what it is, and you get rid of it, and there you have it. I mean, it's like it's better.
And a little key of advice too would be, if you've got your computer set up to do a fast boot, more than likely in your BIOS to set up to do a fast boot, don't do that.
Yeah.
Because when fast boot is set, every time you shut down your PC, you're actually not clearing your cache, you're not clearing your drivers, you're pretty much not doing anything. Only with a full restart will it do that. But if you have fast boot shut off, then every time you shut down your computer or restart, you're basically coming back with a clean slate. So that's why when you have a program that gets installed and it says must restart, it's telling you to restart and not shut down, because restarting goes around that fast boot and it clears your driver cache. It allows the program to do what it wants. So a little bit of PC advice would be shut off fast boot if you have it on.
Do you think new PCs come with fast boot turned on?
Yes.
Windows 11.
Yes.
I'll have to check mine.
Windows 11 has a lot of goodies turned on that probably should be turned off. Let's be honest.
One of the biggest things is that stupid Xbox gaming thing. Shut that service down.
Yep.
Shut that shit off.
Maybe we should hit that as some topics to cover next time.
Wouldn't be a bad idea.
Revamping the system, graphic settings, things of that nature. That'd probably be a good topic to cover, because I think we are at the end of this one.
Yeah. We're actually a little bit over.
Yeah, we are. Just a little bit over time. Great show, though, guys. Thanks for joining us again, Gary.
Yeah.
Thank you, Gary. Welcome to the crew.
It's been fun. It's a great time.
Coco, you got any closing comments? Ed, Gary, anybody?
No, Gary looks exactly how I pictured him in my head. So that's good, you know.
Well, Gary
it's
does have his
comical
picture on
when you-
Discord, doesn't he? Or some Discord or driver's
It's always comical when you hear a voice and the person doesn't match it at all. You know, like Mike Tyson. You know, I'm like, come here, I'm gonna fuck you up, man. I'll fuck you up.
Great
So,
point.
yeah. Nice to have you, Gary.
Yeah.
It's good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yep, definitely just want to say thanks to Gary, thanks to Danny and Ed for Danny getting his shit together again. Awesome job on everybody, but thanks for showing up. And for anybody out there listening to us, thanks for joining us.
Yep. Thanks for hanging out in chat, guys, and hope y'all have a good one. Till next time. See you on the track, guys. Have a good one.
Peace out.
Peace out.